CPDF bandera, timpuyog iti masaay-ay. Frente ti panagkaykay sa Intero Cordillera.
The Cordillera People's Democratic Front salutes the National Democratic Front of the Philippines for its launching of the NDFP Declaration and Program of Action for the Rights, Protection, and Welfare of Children today. It is high time that the rigorous adherence of the Philippine Revolutionary Forces to international protocols on the rights and welfare of children is formally presented to the international community. In the Cordillera region, it is a well-known fact that hundreds of the finest sons and daughters of the oppressed national minorities have long wanted to join the swelling ranks of the Red Fighters, but the strict implementation of the 18-year-old limit for membership to the NPA holds at bay youngsters until they reach the qualifying age. The national operation being continuously suffered by the national minorities that has reached ethnocidal level has led more and more families, clans, and tribes to contribute their children to the revolutionary cause. As large-scale corporate mining interests and foreign-owned hydroelectric dams and geothermal power plants continue to wreak havoc on the livelihood of indigenous communities, grab their ancestral lands, and trample their right to self-determination. Along this, the brutal presence of military protectors of these economic aggression activities have not spared the innocent children and youngsters. The latest of these military atrocities is the rape of two minors from the depressed mining communities of Mangkayan, Benguet by the notorious Army Captain Danilo Lalin of the 86th Infantry Battalion, Philippine Army. Violations of international protocols on children persist in the mountainous areas. 2 years ago, two high school students of Lias, Barlig Mountain Province were victims of attempted rape by elements of the 54th Infantry Battalion, Philippine Army. A criminal case had been lodged against the perpetrators in the local courts, but the wheels of justice under this reactionary government grind too slowly. Last year, a UNICEF fact-finding mission documented the occupation by the 54th Infantry Battalion, Philippine Army of school buildings turned into barracks in Sadanga Mountain Province and elsewhere. Aside from this is the occupation of daycare centers, barangay halls, dap-eyes, and vacant houses that has put the safety of the civilians, especially children, in harm's way. Throughout the region, elements of the military have enticed and recruited high school students, especially girls, courted by glib tank combat intelligence operatives, to become underage intel apprentices that report on the presence and movements of Red Fighters in the communities for just a pittance of free cell phone loans. Soldiers continue to illegally barge into the houses of peasants in the remote indigenous villages, terrifying children as well as parents by forcing them at gunpoint to reveal the whereabouts of the NPA. As a variation, in the latest acts aiming to terrorize populations supporting the revolutionary forces, special units of the military have dressed up and disguised themselves as Red Fighters in the desperate hope of deceiving the unsuspecting masses into providing informations of their support to the revolutionary government and create an atmosphere of fear to the civilian population. This has caused undue trauma, especially on children. The CPDF will continue to monitor these illegal and violative acts against minors by the military and document this in order to present them to the NDF Special Committee on Children. The CPDF further holds the military and the U.S. Aquino regime to account for coddling, abating, hiding from the public, and concealing from the bars of justice such rapist officers as Philippine Army Captain Lalin and other military perpetrators of sexual abuses against minors. The indigenous people in the Cordillera and the revolutionary forces will exert every effort to frustrate the evil schemes of Oplan Bayanihan. The particular rights of indigenous children as likewise the rights of national minorities on ancestral lands, life and natural resources will always be at the core of people's struggle. The continued trampling of indigenous children's rights under this Oplan Bayanihan will certainly be exposed and denounced. The indigenous people's children are looked upon by the national minorities as the future leaders of the hinterland villages. The revolutionary forces continue to afford protection to these minors, providing education on their rights and welfare, and instilling knowledge of indigenous practices vital to the perpetuation and development of traditional know-how in the defense of the ancestral domain, livelihood and resources along the course of national liberation and democracy. This we pledge to our indigenous children. Long live the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. Defend the rights and welfare of the indigenous children and peoples. Fight Oplan Bayanihan, combat militarization in the countryside.